see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
It's just Luke over. And by the way, thank you everyone for joining us over on TBLTV.tv, also on the YouTube channel as well, and Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, along with AMP Radio. So 4 different ways you can see and view us and hear all the fun that we're going to have here tonight, as I have 2 great broadcasters with me this evening. Cable Guy Chris over from the Salem Capitals, and Nate Govan over from the Reading Rebels. And Reading may not have gotten the outcome that he wanted last night, but Nate's still in good spirits here with me. Salem, on the flip side, of course, they took care of business, and they can't wait until the playoffs start this week. But again, thank you for everyone who's joining me overseas, around the world. I do appreciate everyone tuning in tonight, as we're going to talk some TBL playoffs, because yesterday we had, 5 or 6 games on slate, a couple of extra close games last night. The Buccaneers were trying to take care of business, but Georgia Soul in the end ended up taking care of business as well. They ended up winning it over in overtime. I believe it was the only overtime game last night on the slate. Everyone else was able to move on, and then we're waiting for the next round coming up this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time. But first of all, let me introduce once again Cable Guy Chris from the Salem Capitals. Chris, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
No problem. And then we have Nate Govan over for the Reading Rebels. Again, not the outcome that you guys wanted, Nate, but I thank you and appreciate you being with me tonight.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. And no, it wasn't the outcome, but great season overall. They really turned it around from last year, just having a 500 record.
All right. For some reason, hopefully the audio gets a little bit better. It lagged a little bit on my end, but I'll find out. My producer may end up walking in the room and telling me otherwise, but hopefully things will work out here. But listen, again, it is the 2023 playoffs. Everyone's chasing their Lily. We all know it's going to be very exciting. AC Gambits put on quite the show last night against Syracuse, which that was fun to see. Rich Quinones did a great job on the broadcast. Very down the middle. He was very exciting for both sides of the house. And we know that now they take on Albany. So that should be interesting, because I will say it's probably one of the most intense rivalries in the TBL on the east side of the house. Chris, on the west side, you guys might have your own rivalry out there. But I know with AC, with the Gambits, along with the Albany Patroons, I know it's Albany will have to make a trip out to AC, but same way with AC making a trip up there to Albany. The fan base, I'm quite sure it's going to be quite interesting. So I can't wait to hear what all is going to end up happening there. That should be a lot of fun. But Salem, Chris, you guys are taking care of business out there on the west side of the house. So explain to me this monstrous run you guys are making, and now who are you teaming up with for the playoff run?
So the Capitals right now are 9 wins out of the last 10 games. Their only loss was to Vancouver a couple weeks ago, who we beat last night in a heart-thumping 117-114 battle. I mean, it was 19 ties in the game last night. But we are going head-to-head with the number 1 overall team in the league, the Seattle Superhawks, the newcomer to the TBL this year. And we played them 5 times already in the Clash of Cascadia. We've gotten 2 wins. They've got 3. So we are looking forward to a Thursday game there, Sunday game here, and then Monday up in the air if it's going to be there or here. We're still working on that with logistics, but it's going to be a battle, and we're looking forward to it.
Listen, and you talk about logistics, and we know a lot of teams, obviously, it's this time of the year, it's kind of hard for some teams to travel. We understand it, we get it, but come playoff time, it's becoming it becomes a little intense, I should say. But I know a lot of people are going to make the travel trips because, again, this only happens once a year. So it's either you're in or you're out. We know the in-game play from yesterday, a lot of teams and with great records just couldn't pull it together at the very end. But you have the ones that had the desire to be there are going to be there. So with Salem, and I know Nate's having a little bit of an issue here. He'll hopefully come back on with us here momentarily. But again, the playoffs, for those who are tuning in, and if it's your first time tuning in tonight, we do appreciate you guys tuning in. But I'm going to say this. With the TBL, I know you have, obviously, the NBA Finals are about to come up. Heat, with the Nuggets are going to be coming up. But when it comes to the TBL, you get the same type of intensity. Depending on obviously which stadium you go to, some are more intense than others. So this time of the year, it becomes beyond, I would say, I guess, overhyped because it's the time where everyone is making their adjustments off the bench. They know who needs to fill in. We know that we had teams that make a run. They can win a 4 or 5, game winning streak. You're 1 game away from the playoffs, and I don't want to say choke, but definitely do not make it at the very end. And then some teams end up making that surprising run where they may be 4 or 5 games out and able to squeeze themselves in there. Last year with the Titans, we had the opportunity of making it to the playoffs. We made it, unfortunately eliminated in the first round. So this next round is the most crucial round because unlike the NBA, you have the best of 7. With the TBL, basically the best of 3. So either you're splitting one on the road, one at home, and then you take care of business, or you win 2 in a row. Obviously the one-on-one on road, and then you go on to the next round. So it's really exciting for me. I think for this time of the year, the same way I'm pretty sure with Chris and Nate. Hopefully we got your feedback here, but I know for Reading, you guys had a heck of a season. I commend you guys for the job you guys ended up doing. Again, you end up coming up short, but I want you to describe, and I know it's your first year for you here in the league, but I want you to describe the feeling out there in Reading and how you guys came through and were able to make it last night into the in-game playoff game.
Well, the city is a
Nope. We lost Nate again.
Technology, it's a cursing and a bless at the same time.
It sure
You don't
is.
know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. And it's tough, but again, yeah, it's the tough part is as my producer comes in the door to let me know that she lost a live feed as well. So hopefully Nate will he'll end up coming back in. It just happens. You go live, you just hope that everything runs smooth. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Last night I had a great time with Aldi Stevenson, the commissioner of NBLOC. So that was a lot of fun last night. But Chris, I guess getting back to you before, and here comes Nate again. Maybe Nate this time will end up coming in and let's see. Nate, are you good? Might be still a little bit frozen.
Yeah, I think. Yep.
Yeah. So it might be frozen. Might be time to restart the PC as the tech world loves to say. Start it, restart, and see what happens. But anyway,
well, we do have a game tonight, by the way, just so you know. Don't forget, we have St. Louis and Owensboro who are playing their game that didn't get played yesterday. So that's the final piece of the play-in games to happen tonight. So the winner of that is going to move on. So they're supposed to be starting right now. So hopefully we get some score updates from their game too.
Yeah, hopefully as well. I'll try and get it up on the screen here as we're talking throughout the evening here. But again, come yesterday. It takes a lot for these team market owners to be able to put all these teams together, to be able to be focused upon to make the ultimate run, which is obviously the playoff run. Again, you can come up very close. You can be 1 game out, and you hope to do the best. And hopefully we get Nate back here once again. Nate, are you good?
Yeah, I switched to my cell phone from the tablet. Just trying to troubleshoot over here.
All right. Well, listen, that's good then. At least we end up getting you back, so that's a great thing. But so since now you're back, I'll go back to the original question was, with Reading, obviously your first year with Reading, and you guys had a great fan base throughout the entire year. So kind of let the fan base here know that are tuning in for the first time tonight, what it was like for you, your first year there, and obviously you guys just coming up a bit short at the end of the season.
Man, it was. Thank you for the question, Angel. It was an amazing season. What I was going to say was that Reading is a basketball town, and it has been. It has a tremendous basketball history and a basketball acumen here. So much so that the Reading High School just won a state championship, and it was actually their 3rd state championship in 7 years. And they're coming off of Rick Perez, the head coach, just won Coach of the Year for the state for their class. So the same fan base that supports the Reading Red Knights loves and supports the Reading Rebels. So you could really see it. The people, they showed up consistently, and it was just an amazing season at Alvernia. And it really was a hurt piece to get put out of the playoffs last night. But I think the fans know and the city knows that the improvements that are being made this season we're going to reap benefits from that in years to come because the team and the leadership is moving in the right direction. So the fans are excited, the city's excited, I'm excited. Can't wait to come back next season and deliver more great basketball to this great city and their fan base.
I think so. And I think where a lot of people, did Lehigh end up hosting the All Star game this year? And I think for those who live in Pennsylvania, in the surrounding areas, if for those who made it out there to the All Star game, I hope they're able to go out to the city because Philadelphia is not that far away from Lehigh Valley. Same way with Reading, you're talking about an hour to 2 hour ride out to Reading, Pennsylvania, out from the city. If you live in the suburbs, you're lucky because then it's an only hour difference, depending if you're out in Chester County, where I used to be from, and out in Delaware County. So you make that travel trip out there, it's not bad. But the All-Star game ended up being just as popular as now as we're coming to the playoffs. But the one thing was nice that we're able to put that together as we were at the Indy Combine in February. So thankfully, the nice part was that they were able to host it. The turnout, they were expecting a larger turnout, but it was still nice with what they did. Again, hosting it, it's not the easiest thing in the world because you have to put things together pretty much last minute and bring it all together. So we'll see come next year, it may be hosting in Canada because now with the merge of the NBLC and the TBL creating the Basketball Super League, it could be a possibility that the All-Star game could be in Canada. So as soon as we all find out, it's going to be great because it'd be a nice travel trip if possible, and maybe I'll end up seeing you guys up there as well. So it would be fun. The only thing that I would like is hopefully it'll be kind of mild because Canada, at the time when the All Star game rolls around, it's quite brutal between the snow and just the freezing temperatures. It's pretty cold. So I moved from Philly because I don't want to be frozen anymore. So I'm spoiled with the Tampa weather. It's really nice down here. But you make the sacrifice. It's no big deal. You just throw on a coat and you're ready to go. But Chris, for you, on the West Coast, we know that last year, a couple different teams that were there that are not there this year. South
Yep.
Bay, I know, obviously they gave it the best shot they possibly could. They also were eliminated as well. But for Salem, again, Salem has been taking care of business. Year two for you being with the Capitals, and I want your take from last year from where you guys were to this year we are now in the playoffs. What's been you, and in your own opinion, what's been the biggest growth for the Salem Capitals?
I would say it's number one, Kevin Johnson Jr., who was a player last year, who became the head coach this year. He just has what it takes. Brian last year was a great coach, Brian Stevens, but he was driving 3 hours to even get to practices from his hometown and games. So the commitment was just not there. But Kevin was there. Kevin played every game last year. Last year, the team started 10-0, the only undefeated left last year at the beginning of the season. As a first year team, they gelled. We only had 4 players not come back. We had to fill 4 spots. So everybody's still a core unit that was last year that's still here now. We added some additional pieces of Isaiah Gentry, who came from Little Rock he came from the Moguls, and we added Preston Whitfield, who came from the Little Rock Lightning, and then a couple other pickup players locally. So it's a local group of people too. They're not just here for a game and go home. They're together. They're going out and having meals together. Their families are hanging out together. They have this bond that they have built that you can't duplicate. And Jason Conrad started that. Our TMO. He's 7 foot. He played down overseas. It's a family-run environment. He's the TMO. His mom is the merchandise marketer, business manager, and his dad runs the arena. So it's a family event all the way around, from the ownership down. That's what the biggest thing here is. And we're all part of that family. They say we are the Capitals. It's everybody. It's the fans. It's the broadcast. It's myself. It's the team. It's the people who sit at the scoring table. They are all part of the family.
Excuse me. In case you guys are just tuning in right now and listening live over on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, also on TBL TV and on YouTube, and of course AMP Radio. With me tonight, I have cable guy Chris from Salem Capitals, Nate Govan over from the Reading Rebels, as we're talking some TBL playoffs here as everybody makes down the push and the chase for the Lily. And by the way, in case if you guys hear me constantly talk about the Lily, some history behind it. Evelyn Magley, who is the CEO, first Black female ownership of a sports team, decided to name the name of the cup behind her mother, obviously, who supported her, and vice versa. So if you guys want to know the history behind it, it is named after Mrs. Magley's mom, Evelyn's mom. So I thought, that it's within that, that's a great story. And if you guys don't know Evelyn Magley, one thing I will say is you guys don't get, like I told the commissioner last night from Canada, when you guys speak to Audley, when you guys speak to Wiley, anybody you speak to within the TBL, you're not getting one version. And then when you walk away from you, you're getting a different version. Evelyn is very passionate about this TBL growth as they're into year 5 right now, announcing now the BSL come next year. She is very focused upon to make sure that everyone gets a great experience, from your team market owners to the broadcasters to the fans. She puts together a great package for everyone to succeed. And it's up to all of us as individuals to make sure that we're part of this team to make everything succeed and grow. Because if everybody needs help, everybody should be able to chip in and make everyone focus and understand it. Sometimes, listen, we don't call it the best games. It's just sometimes you're just off your own game and you come in and you're ready. It's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take this game on, and just something happens and it's a switch that flicks off. And then that's when your buddy's going to be like, hey, listen, it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. So it happens to the best of us, believe me, because there's times when the same way I throw my promos together, I know exactly what I want to say. Something else comes out and I just add it with the promo because it happens. It's all natural. But you guys as broadcasters, you guys, the professionalism where it comes through, right with the TBL, you guys also know as well you're ambassadors. So when you guys are around the court, off the court, people ask you questions because eventually you get the recognition. People want to talk to you guys. How, and I'll say the same question, but both of you guys first. And Nate, I'll start with you because it's your first year in. You know that you're the ambassador, right, for the Reading Rebels, along with being with the broadcaster. As people get to know Nate a lot more and they get to see you more in the street, or if they see you over the gym, wherever you guys are having the events, you're going to get questions that are going to be asked, like, how'd you get started? How'd you guys end up getting to where you guys are? So me being a fan, I'll just say, hey, Nate, how are you? I just want to know, what did it take for you to be so enthusiastic to say, you know what, I want to be a broadcaster for the Reading Rebels?
Well, number one, just the city and how much of a basketball town that it is. How can you not want to be involved in something basketball in the city of Reading? And then two, just getting to know people in the organization really has made it just an experience that you don't get every day. Some people dream about broadcasting and never actually get an opportunity to do it. But the Reading Rebels have given opportunities for individuals like myself to go out here and show their love of the sport, their love for broadcasting. And I would just tell anybody who asks me, because a lot of people, to be honest with you, Angel, a lot of people had never heard about the TBL,
Right.
or oh, well, I saw that logo for the Reading Rebels on Facebook. Somebody shared it, but I really didn't know what it is. And as I continue to share it more on my social media and just in my local community and, my neighborhood Facebook page, people are starting to say, oh, wow, they got a nice little thing going on over there at the Reading Rebels. Well, Nate, when's your next game? And they almost like associate me like I'm a player. I'm like, no, I'm not playing. But hey,
Yep.
when's your next game? I'm like, we're Sunday night at 4 p.m. Come check us out. But when you get there to the game, that's what grabs you. Curiosity draws you in. But when you get there to the game and you see the talent level of these young men, and just how truly good they are, a lot of these guys are 1 or 2 steps away from possibly being called up to the NBA. And that talent and level of emotion that they play with really draws you in and makes you a fan. And it's contagious, just like positive energy.
It is. Now, Chris, I will turn the question over to you as well.
Well, mine actually started because I love high school sports. I volunteered for a radio show on Friday nights doing high school football call-in reports from all of our metro area. High school's big out here in Portland, Oregon, our big 6A classification. That turned into the high school my kids go to, Westview High School here in Portland, needing a public address announcer for their winter and spring sports. So the AD was like, hey, do you want to come? Our girls basketball announcer quit. Do you want to do it? Yeah. Well, okay, great. So I'm doing it like I treat them like they're stars because they may never hear their name over a loudspeaker again. So then it turned into the boys were like, we want what the girls have. for a first time in sports. The boys want what the girls get. So the
Right.
boys were like, Chris, we want you to do our games. They went to their normal announcer, like, don't be offended, Dave, but we want Chris. And so I took his role. I love him. He's a great guy. He's doing it again now that I don't have time for the high school. But then it turned into softball as well. So the softball team didn't have an announcer. They're like, hey, do you want to do softball for us? So it just turned into that. I did that for 7 years at the high school. And then this opportunity came up because of the OSAA, the Oregon School Athletic Association out here, the guy in charge of the PA for the state used to do PA at Westview, and his great niece and nephew went there. He's like, Chris, I got this opportunity in Salem. Why don't you call Jason Conrad and talk to him? He needs someone to do TV broadcast or do play-by-play. I didn't know it was TV. I was thinking it was more like web streaming or like this. I didn't realize we'd have a full TV production when I got there. Cans on, like, my camera in my face. We have 4 cameras on the court. I'd never done it like that. So I wasn't one of those kids that grew up, or, I'm going to mute the TV, do my sportscasting. I never had that envisioned. If I did, it would have been WWE stuff, and that was about it. Not pro sports. So that's my thing. And I do have some young men that have come up and said, how do I get to learn what you're doing? I just told them, start with your local high school. Start with CYO leagues. Start with youth baseball, summer league baseball. Get in and practice your voice. And, now I speak for a living at my job, my real job. I do this. So, it shows, and it just helps me also. I mean, I always critique myself. I have a hour drive after every game. So I go to the key parts of the game and I listen to it while I'm driving home, on the TBL TV. I listen to the game. I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. Now I'm my own harshest critic, but it's just so much fun. It's enjoyable. I love it. It's passion, and it's just a blast.
It is, and I think where a lot of people so in order to get into the broadcasting field, whether you want to get on the radio side, the TV side, play-by-play, which is one of the harder gigs you get into, because if you've never done it before and you're coming into it, you have to understand that we have our favorite broadcasters, right? We've listened to when we were kids, guys on ESPN. We've heard all this stuff, and you think about like, man, I can do that. I know I can do it. The first game when you go to announce, it's always like, I'm good. And then you get ready and it's like, wait a minute. I'm actually doing it now.
Yeah.
And the nerves, like everything gets the best of you, because now, the camera and the focus is upon you. And if you don't call the right things, you can get away with it as long as you're sly. Sometimes you just, the wrong foul, something else, but you roll through it. The problem is you turn around and you say, was that it? What was that? Then you're in trouble, because now you're calling yourself out, because no one else is going to be able to call you out for it. But the rewarding part of it is when you get ready, and I know when I talk to different people, and I've been ready, when I go out the NFL season, there's a local tavern out in Tampa that we go out and we do live broadcast from there. The fun part is when you're talking to people and explaining to them exactly what you do and your passion and everything else, but then it's that switch, because you know that you're about to go live. So now you go from the talk mode with someone to game mode. And it's funny because sometimes, like my producer, she'll laugh at me because she'll just look at me like, it's like a switch. Someone just turns it on and poof, here you go. Yep. But that's the things that you have to do, because again, as a broadcaster, it's important. There's also times when you get caught up in the moment when you could be calling the best game ever. And you have to remember, like, there's certain things that, you may have said and you may not have caught it, but someone else did. So, there's a lot of things that run through your mind. The things that are going on, scores, who scored, who did that, come to half. You're trying to get stats, filling in, with sponsors, everything else. It is rewarding within itself, because at the end of the day, in the end of the games, you just feel like, okay, hopefully I did a good enough job to be able to get myself right back here where I was. And the TBL, the great thing about it is there's other teams that are out there and other sports that are out there that take a look at the TBL, because there's broadcasters in need of broadcasters right now. So they look for the best of the best, because you could never have done broadcasting in your life, come into the TBL for the first year, and there could be a local radio station, you just need someone, and they might say, you know what, Nate, I love your presence. Chris, I love your voice. You know what, I need to get these guys. I need to recruit them somehow or another. And that's why the TBL is so important for a lot of people. It's just not the basketball players themselves, but also the broadcasters, the guys, in the medium, your statisticians, all those guys play a critical role when it comes to the TBL. So thank you guys for what you guys do, because obviously we need you guys as well to entertain a crowd, to make sure you're doing a good job. Chris, like I said, I've seen a couple of your interviews where, first of all, I'm pretty sure where some folks are probably looking up at you because you got some height to you. From what
I'm
I've seen.
6'9",
Yeah,
6'9".
9. Wow.
yeah. So if I'm standing next to Chris, I'd just be looking, so Chris, how's the air up there? Because I was down here.
Exactly.
It's the whole different story. But again, that's what makes us all unique and part of this. So again, thank you guys for a great season. It's absolutely awesome. And as we get into some of these games now, because we do have playoff basketball, it's coming up this weekend. Chris, I'll go with you here. You guys have a tough matchup coming up here on the 1st because you guys have the Seattle Superhawks. And when they start off the season, like up and running, and they were going where it seemed like they were going to be undefeated. But you guys face them at 11 o'clock, obviously West Coast time. So those of us over here, you can catch the game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm just wondering, how are you guys set up and how far do you guys see? I'm just going to go with round 2. I'm not even looking at round 3. Just for round 2, how well are you guys set up to take on the Superhawks?
I think we are extremely set up because when we played them on Sunday and we had a double overtime win, we were down 4 key players due to family commitments and the holiday weekend, and we still took them to double overtime. We're going to have all of our pieces back now. We beat them 2 times in a row, which now the confidence versus, they're 22-1. Now they're 22-4 over everything. We've given them half of their losses. The Capitals have a fire lit under them to take Seattle down. And again, Portland and Seattle is just a natural born rivalry anyway. Whether it's the Timbers and Sounders, when the Sonics were there and the Blazers, it is a natural born rivalry. Everybody from Oregon hates Seattle people. Everybody from Seattle hates Portland, Oregon people. It is a natural thrust rivalry that is there. And that's why I call it the Clash of Cascadia, because it really is both on this side of the Cascade Mountains. That's what we've dubbed this rivalry between the two teams. And they're ready. I mean, I was checking my pulse so many times on Sunday, and that double overtime game, it was unreal. But it just the excitement of it, the passion of the players, the passion of both sides, they're out there fighting. And now, how I see it going, we got game 1 on Thursday up there. I'm hoping we take it. We have game 2 Sunday in Salem, and game 3, like I said, it's up in the air where it's going to be held. I think we're going to go 3 games. And I really feel with the momentum that Salem's on, they're going to take it in game 3. And hopefully it'll be at home in Salem, and I'll be on that broadcast. But I think Salem's going to take the 3, best of 3.
I got a quick question for you, Chris. If I can. So, out of the Sonics here, who scares you the most? I know you got the usuals. You got Tisdale Jr., you got Carter III, 17.5 points a game, 17.2 points.
Yep.
Out of the best of the best, who scares you is that guy who can possibly 30? You've seen him twice. Is there anybody who scares you?
Zeke Quinlan. That guy is a money shot. And when he's not in foul trouble, they're getting the ball in his hands when it's not in MC3s. And Zeke is a tough defender and rebounder too. So he's the linchpin that holds the rest of the team together, in my opinion.
Well, there's always that has so much potential that the normal stars they shine bright. They're often this guy shines just brighter. It's not cool. It's not bright. You always got those guys in play. It's the role players who tend to be more valuable than the starters, because if you can't sub in people off the bench, keep pace, or still continue to get defensive stops, put you in a hole.
If you go to my broadcast from Sunday and watch the second player interview, Sam Madiker, he only scored 9 points, but those 9 points came at such crucial times for him, where that's where what caused one of the overtimes. That's where it got us up by 2. That he was at the right spot. His goal is to defend. His goal is to block shots. But when he gets his key crucial baskets, he did his job. And I talked to him after the game, and that's exactly what he said. I'm not here to score points. I'm here to do whatever the team needs, because that's what we're doing. That's exactly like Zeke Quinlan as well. But Psalm is that for the Salem Capitals on top of everything else.
Now, Nate, I'm going to turn this over to you. I don't expect you to know everything about Albany. Don't expect you to know everything about, about the AC Gambits. But switching it back over to East Coast, because then we're going to go back over towards the Midwest and kind of just round with all of us here. But AC Gambits obviously took care of business against Syracuse Stallions, 21-3. They had the end game. They took care of business. Now they take on Albany, Patroons, and I want to say, as you know, just like Chris was talking about the rivalry between the two states out there, you know it just as much as I do. Philly, like Dallas, the same way like Philly and Jersey, Philly, New York. I mean, that's a ton of rivalry there. So you're looking at now South Jersey versus New York here. I'm not even talking about as far as the Gambits and the Patroons because that's the way everybody's going to be looking at it. But who do you believe out of these two teams walks away and heads over to round three?
The other day when they were in Reading, he told me, he said, Nate, man, I think we're going to win this game, number one, because we beat you guys before, and two, our defensive prowess, you guys aren't going to be able to score 100 points on us, and we're going to attack some of your weaker defenders. And what he said came to fruition, to be honest with you, by the time the game got to the end of the fourth quarter. Defensively, I think they're better. Now, on the other hand, the Patroons, Travis Weiss, man, this kid's a bucket. He
Mm-hmm.
gets him and the guy Millinghouse. They're the two guards, but Millinghouse, he really pushes the ball, pushes the tempo. He's a great facilitator, and Weiss is just he can score from anywhere, man. Just watching him, he struggled early against us when we played the Patroons, but he turned it on hot in the fourth quarter. But I just think that Atlantic City has so much length on their team, and they have a bunch of other bona fide scorers that it's just going to be too much for the Patroons. I like their game and what they have to do, but I don't think it's going to happen. Atlantic City all the way, in my opinion.
It's funny because Coach Rowland obviously was interviewed after the game, and Coach Rowland's just so smooth because he sits down. It's almost like a swag that he has, like we're taking care of business. It's not monotone. It's just like he knows what he has to do. It's just straight up business when it comes to Coach Rowland. So I think so is why as much as I think the history behind Albany and Albany
Yeah.
looking to advance because last year the same thing they came up short as they were making the run for it. But I think AC is kind of right now solid to at least to make the run here. And I think even past round three, the way I look at it as far as when it comes to the Gambits. But again, we don't know because it's every other game. You don't know how you end up showing up. Sometimes you look great the game before, and we hope it's going to look the same way here coming up into round two. But Chris, I'm going to take it over to the Midwest and the Upper West here. Glass City versus Kokomo. Kokomo last night took care of business against Jamestown. Close games last night, but I mean all around, I believe in the end game. So the first game being June 1st at 7 p.m. Do you believe that Glass City will take over Kokomo, or does Kokomo continue to advance past round two?
I think the fact that their matchup, their head to head is 4-1, Kokomo leading the series. I think Kokomo's going to take them, and it's probably just be two games. They were close games for the most part, but I think Kokomo's too strong. They're going to take them, and it'll probably just be two games and done.
I think so as well because it's going to be it definitely will be interesting to see, you might be absolutely right. So I don't know. It's a good matchup. I like to see Kokomo just because I might have a little favoritism towards Kokomo. Just saying, but Glass City obviously doing a great job as well. But it's fun. I got to meet Bree, a couple of the members of the team over there from Kokomo. It was fun group to talk to, and it was just it's just a fun group altogether. So Kokomo could be taking care of business. But so now, Nate, I'll switch it back over to you. We'll go to East Southeast.
Mhm.
Georgia Soul again took care of business last night. Central Georgia Buccaneers almost did it as they came back to tie it up at the end, 121 all. End up losing at 135, 128. But I play the Newfoundland Rogues. Obviously, the Rogues too started out on pretty much on beast mode this season, cooled down a little bit, but now they're in the playoffs. So Georgia versus Newfoundland, you think the Rogues advance or does Soul take care of business?
I like the soul. I do. Number one, I enjoy watching a broadcast. They're one of the more creative broadcast teams out there, so I've really enjoyed them. But to be honest, I think their scoring prowess is just tremendous, and it really starts with Patrell Rogers out there. He's scoring 20.8 points a game right now, and he's just really offensively unstoppable. And he doesn't. He seems to be just more of a leader than just a scorer. You know, other guys step in. We got Richardson that comes in. He's got 15 points a game. Brunson scoring about 14 points a game, and also too. These guys really get after it in total rebounds. Quarles 9.6 rebounds a game, Berrien 7 rebounds a game. And deep into the playoffs, it's about defensive effort, rebounding, and limiting some of the offensive rebounds that turn into transition points. And this team does a really good job of that, in my opinion. So that's why I think they'll come out on top.
All right,
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. I'm disagreeing. After
I,
seeing him play 4 times, I mean, Armani Chaney is a stud at 26 plus points a game. Ron Artest the third is there. I mean, and you gotta think they played the Soul only 2 weeks ago and thumped them both times. So they have that high of we just beat you 2 times back to back,
mhm.
coming down from Canada to do that. I think the Soul are in for a matchup, and this number 3 road team may end up taking out the number 1 in the South.
I don't know, Chris. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, man, in any sport. You know, at some point in time, I think that the Soul will be able to scout them and go back to the drawing board and just make the necessary adjustments. But no, I hear you. They thumped them twice, but it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
All right, and I'm writing that one down because it's probably the first agreement here for the playoff run.
Good.
But
Good.
it's going to be it. Listen, I would have to agree. You know, when it comes to Chris, because you got Ronald Chest the third there. I mean, it's just, and he's playing lights out. And there's a couple guys
Yep.
on Newfoundland. Is just, I mean, they're ready. They're to make the trip from Canada. It's a long road trip, but I think Newfoundland is ready to go to that next round. So I would have to probably call for the Rogues as well. Georgia Soul again played a great game last night. Defensively, they were tough, and it was good to see that game last night. It was tight. But yeah, I think Newfoundland takes it. So since Nate has switched it over to you, now we got 2 games here in the Central. So Chris, we have the Neat Outlaws against Potawatomi Fire. Potawatomi, I think, are kind of on a destination cruise where they would love more than anything to take one from at least one from the Outlaws. But again, they need is taking care of business as well. So switching over to you, do the Fire advance to round 3?
I'm gonna say yes. I think they're gonna. I think they have a chance. I mean, I always like the head-to-heads. Tells about the season, and Potawatomi took him down 4 or 5 times. So they know they can do it, and that's over the whole season. So, you know, back in March and then the end of the season. So they've seen him at the rough beginning, they've seen him at the end where Gimmin on strong. But again, playoffs bring out a different beast in everybody. But we're in the stretch now, and this is it. I think Potawatomi's going to take it. And forgive me if I say a city name wrong. Some of these names I've never heard before. So when you call it Enid, I'm saying Enid, you know. I'm like, I've never heard these cities before. So it's kind of fun, like getting the actual pronunciation of them.
Oh, no, it's fine. I don't know, Nate, I don't know if you want to agree or disagree on that one.
No, I agree with them. Especially, I'm just looking over their schedule here. They put up a lot of points. Here's one game they scored 152 points, 122 points, 131 points, 128 points. So the majority of the teams that have success in this league are able to score over 110, 112 points consistently, while holding their opponents to under 100 points. And yeah, they put up a lot of points. $155 against the Oklahoma Panthers. Goodness gracious.
Now we look at and this one here, and we'll talk about this one evenly here because you have Shreveport Mavericks against the Wichita Sky Kings. Before I even get into the history of the Mavericks, because again, 5-time champs, you know, it's hard for them not to be able to try and pull it off again. But Wichita, I want to know the secret behind Wichita because it's a small little town, but they did big things this year. I mean, they between stars, rappers, actors, you name it. They just had 4 former NBA players come into the last one so they can beat the attendance crowd. And I believe they did it, if I remember correctly. But Wichita was if not on fire in the court, they were definitely on fire when it came to the fans because they did everything that you had to do to market your team to maximize everything
Yeah.
you possibly did this year. So my hats off to Wichita because they did an excellent, excellent job. I invited them on the broadcast tonight, but I know a lot of people getting ready for the weekend matchup series here. Some teams they came up short. They declined to come on tonight, but so I apologize if those were looking for the team market owners, some of the players tonight. Hopefully, we'll have them on come next week because it'll be a little bit of a better outcome. We'll see, or if not, maybe stay updated for over the weekend. Maybe I'll able to grab a person or two from over the weekend. But
Yeah.
Wichita, again, you're taking on Shreveport. Coach from the Mavericks, everybody knows, got a good history, very focused, very determined. He knows that what's got to happen to take care of the Mavericks to get to not only round 3 but make that lightning run, I will say, for the Lily. So, in I guess evenly here, I'll ask: does the Sky Kings, you guys, end up winning this, or Mavericks, with the rich history they've had of winning the Lily before, do they take care of business, move over to round 3?
I like the.
I'm going to hope. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear it, Nate.
No, I'm going to say I'm going to go with the Mavericks. Um, Yeah, I'm looking at their scoring averages. Bernard Parks is a monster. He's going to be a handful to deal with. Kadavion Evans is another guy averaging 20 points a game, 19.6. You might as well say 20. But Parks is averaging 26 points a game. And to be honest, there's nobody for Wichita who's really scoring like that and lighting it up. They've got guys in double figures, but they're low double figure scoring, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep up.
Ooh, see, and I'm going to disagree because of that low double scoring figures. There's
Mhm.
passing the ball, they're sharing the ball. Everybody's getting a piece of it. Those 5 players that are listed with 12.2 to 13.5 points,
Yep.
that's 70 points right there. That's not even including bench points for the most part. And they're also getting on the boards too. They have 3 guys averaging 5 rebounds a game, 5 defensive rebounds a game. So I think Wichita, and I'm going to steal something from the baseball and the college era, they're going to shock the Mavericks.
Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. So 2 tonight, 2 hot takes from tonight. So that's interesting. So I like it. I really like it. And looking at the live feed here right now, it's 35 all between Owensboro and the St. Louis Griffins. So live feed action, and it looks like they're still in the first, or actually no, and they're in the second. So 34 all right now with the live feed, and then getting back over towards the west as I switch things back over here because again, a lot of teams will be playing out there as well. You got the Long Beach Blue Waves against the South Bay Flash. That's on June 1st at 9 p.m. This one here,
Yeah.
this one here makes it very interesting. For the last call tonight, I will personally say I think South Bay could possibly, and I'll stretch the word out possibly, could end up taking care of business. But Long Beach has been hanging in there all season long. So I will, Chris, I'll start with you first. Long Beach or South Bay?
Long Beach. I don't think South Bay has the stamina to continue to take down Long Beach. Long Beach has the depth and the length.
Right.
South Bay does not.
Nate?
Um, I like South Bay Flag. Uh, and me, and I know Chris will disagree with me probably, but I like it when I see 2 guys who can score. At the end of the day, defense defense is great, but it's how much can you put the ball in the hole that really gets you the W. And when I'm looking at Bradford, 27 points a game, Pittman, 24 points a game. These guys are shooting 50% from the field, as Rittman is. And the other thing that really stood out when I looked at this matchup, when you look at Christopher Bradford, he's got 20 games where he scored 20 points or more. And he's
Right.
games where he's dropped 30 points or more. So these guys are buckets. And then when I looked at Rittman, he also had 17 games with 20 points or more. And then he also had one big one, 45-point game against the San Diego Sharks. So I just think at the end of the day, these guys are going to shoulder the load and they won't allow them to lose.
I think they're going to lose it at the 3-point line. That's
Interesting.
where I think it's going to be because Long Beach is shooting 55%, and South Bay is only shooting 35%. That's a huge difference when you're hitting those shots.
It is. It is. It is. I mean, I can see that. That's a good argument. I can see that.
All right, so the picks are in. We'll see what happens over the weekend. It should be really, really interesting. And hopefully everyone will tune back in next week as long as my two guys here between Chris and Nate are able to come back so we can talk about round 2 and then over to round 3. So for everyone who tuned in tonight, I do appreciate it again over on TBLTV.tv, also on the YouTube channel, on AMP Radio, and of course on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Fellas, I thank you for the commentary tonight. Again, thank you for the broadcast you guys did respectfully for both teams. And we'll see what's going to happen here during the playoffs over the weekend.
Maybe me and Chris should bet a cheesesteak or something. Well, I can ship it to him, right?
Yeah.
I'll send you a block of Tillamook cheese. You send me a cheesesteak. We'll do something from our respective states. We'll find something good. Maybe I'll send you one of my Nike banners from the Phil Knight Invitational or the Phil Knight tournament I've got for working those events here in Portland.
Oh man, you're stepping up the game, Chris. Angel, this guy, man, I like him.
He is. Listen, I don't know how much I can offer you a TBL ball.
I've got one. I've already got one.
Yes. But nonetheless, I mean, let's good bets. Write it down, then we'll figure out by the weekend to see who has to send what. Or if you guys, you know what? Okay, we'll do it this way. We'll wait and see if obviously the teams you guys end up picking end up making it past round 3. If you guys won, then you guys can either pay each other after round 2 or continue into round 3 and then raise the stakes a little bit more. So I'll leave that with you guys.
Something to think about. We'll work it out.
Something about. So I do want to give one. I'm going to give one quick shout out while we're doing this. I want to give a big shout out to Bobby P Media, Bobby and his crew. Which one of them is my son Dominic, who I love dearly. My 19-year-old is 6'4". I'm 6'9". He's 6'4". He actually is on the spectrum, and he actually is one of the camera operators on the game. He's actually the action cam. So Bobby P did a great job by letting him come on board as a volunteer. Now he's hired him, but just the production. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to plug myself here too a little bit.
Sure.
Go watch one of our Salem broadcasts. I mean, the production quality of ours and Vancouver Volcanoes, because Bobby runs both, is just outstanding. And, Magley's even said, we want to duplicate this. We're willing to do it anywhere and everywhere. We'll travel. We said, we'll travel. You pay us. We'll come broadcast your game. And so we tried to get Seattle to hire us to do the whole series, but they've got their own person. But we tried, But no, Bobby P is just amazing. And, he does so many things outside of sports. It's unreal. But, and it's just a great thing. And so just want to give a big love to him too.
Sure, no problem. And by the way, Chris, speaking about as far as media, make sure you also share out your social media as well.
Yeah, at Cable Guy Chris, CBL Guy Chris on Twitter, Instagram. It's the same thing. Love it. I'm always putting stuff on there, and just do as much of the team stuff as I can as well. Keep my Facebook a little bit private. Sorry, I don't. It's a little bit more locked down, but the Twitter and Instagram's open, and have fun and hit me up on there.
Sure, Nate.
You can find me on Instagram at MaddenGuru_856. And you can also catch me on Twitter at Govan_Nathan. So, and Angel, again, thank you for the platform and, giving Chris and I an opportunity to get on here and go back and forth and, talk about something that we love doing. Shout out to the TBL. Keep doing it. Keep pushing. The brand and the product that you're putting out there is catching on to people. So just keep that positive momentum that we have. The playoffs are going to be great. And big shout out to all the fans around the league that really make it special. And we love you guys.
No, that's so true. So I can't wait. Listen, I'm already hyped up for next week's show because you guys already stepped it up tonight with making these side bets and figure out to disagree to agree. So I can't wait till next week. Hopefully you guys will join us right here again next Wednesday on TBL TV, on YouTube, and of course over on the radio station. So for myself, Angel with 101 with Cable Guy Chris, with Nate, my producer over at Studio B. I hope everyone enjoys the games over the weekend. Let's go against Griffins and Owensboro. And with that being said, we hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night. soon as I switch it over here, things go missing. Here we go.
Like that sometime, man.
There we go.